Mhm. 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 Might have been to be said. Mhm. 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 Good morning, Brianna. How are you? Dude, that Bad Bunny video took off in ways I never thought would happen. Besides, tired off your ass. Not bad. Well, I feel that. I'm good. I'm good. Obviously, having a video do well always makes you feel good. Posted a couple more videos today, which I think are pretty funny. Both of them I think are pretty funny. We'll see how well they do. Especially the one I did. It's a short one about the oh yeah. Nope. GOP shut it down. The GOP is the majority. The GOP has his job is to work with Democrats if they know they need their votes. They chose not to work with them at all and try and pass it without any input at all. That is literally the majority's job, is to work with the minority. Good morning, RJ. They chose to do it without any help. And when you choose to do that, these are the repercussions. Hey, Lori. Hey, Jade. I mean, they got a few Democrats to vote for it, just not enough. Hey, Flamingo. Hey, Lori. Two Loris. Okay. Congratulations. Stock market means nothing. Most of the country doesn't have stocks. But, way to show you're privileged and don't care about other people. I don't know why that's stuck in my head so deeply. Good morning. Good morning. It's so interesting to me, the people that think that because things are going well for them, that means that it's a good thing. Like, that one is always wild to me. Now, you know, things are going well for me, so that must mean this is all good. That's how it works. Because I am the only person in this country. Right? That's how it is. That is true, Cass. That is 100% true. What about what's going to happen with insurance for those that need it? It hurts my head. Yep. Well, hello there. Guys, don't forget, we're also live over on the tube. I don't know why that's in my head. Aw, thanks, Allie. I appreciate that. It is such an earworm, and I am so bad when it comes to earworms. I will hum the last song I heard forever. Aw, thank you. I'm just trying to be a good person and a real person. It is hilarious to me the amount of people that think that only have the capability of looking at the fact that because Democrats voted against it, that means it's their fault. Nope, not Democrat shutdown. GOP. GOP did not work with the Democrats in any way, shape, or form, and yet they needed their vote. They needed their vote, and they did not work with them at all. The only thing they did was say, vote for this or it will, or the government will shut down. That is not how Congress works. It is never over. We should always be proud of who we are. Your proof, not everyone should be able to comment, TJ. Nope. Shutdown was caused by the GOP. So Thune and anyone else. Why not now? Well, because things changed. It's not the same CR. They have cut things from the budget before the CR went through. So no, it's not a clean CR. You're a Fed employee. What's giving me anxiety is the reduction in force RIF. Yeah. It is not a clean CR. It got changed with the big, beautiful bill and this administration. Nope, not Schumer, but nice try. Schumer is not the majority leader. Thanks, Extra Pickle. Lost your job thanks to tariffs. No, anyone with a brain knows that it's not the Democrats, because the Democrats aren't the majority. The Democrats have the ability to put forth amendments, and the Republicans have the ability to completely ignore it, which is exactly what they did. They said, vote for this or there's going to be a shutdown. We're not going to work with you. We don't care. Literally has nothing to do with the Democrats. The way it has literally always worked. Always worked. Is if you need the votes of someone, you go up to them and say, what do I need to do to get you to vote for this? And you work on it. They didn't. Nope, not Dem's fault, but nice try. Chuck Schumer said, we are willing to work with you, and they didn't. And they said, we are not going to vote for the continuing resolution when we weren't talked to at all. That is different than just shut it down. We ain't doing that shit anymore. Then you obviously don't want to live in a society anymore, your name. Grow up. Nope, not Democrats' fault, but thanks for playing. Not what you saw. Paul, grow the fuck up. You child. Hey, Rip. I miss when the biggest problem we had was Mitt Romney. Seriously. Wouldn't that be nice? Or Obama's tan suit. Yeah. No, they don't know how the government works. They know what they're being told. And again, they think things are black and white. And it doesn't work like that. Nuh-uh, Robbie. Nuh-uh. Are we winning yet? Yes, Philip. 100% winning. Nope, not Schumer. But nice try, Mama Zoo. Aww. Says the person who came in and just went, Dems. Okay, dude. That is not my understanding, Scylla. And if you actually, decided to pay attention before saying random shit, you would know that. I don't specifically support anybody. I call it out like it is. You're right. Politicians aren't my friends. That doesn't change anything. Starting to wonder if this idea of a civics exam for all should become a thing. Yeah, it should. How are you guys doing over on the tube? How's everybody doing over there? Guys, just in case you're wondering, we're live here. If you're on TikTok, we're here and on the tube. So if you want to hang out there, it's probably a much more calm place and you can talk like an adult. Got a meeting? No worries, RJ. Nope, the GOP did shut it down. The GOP are in the majority. The GOP are the ones responsible for working with the other side to get the votes that they need. That's their job. They didn't work with them at all. They said, here's the bill, vote for it. That's your only choice. They didn't do their job. Nope, Democrats did not shut it down, but nice try. GOP didn't do their job. And that's why the Democrats voted no. What did they think was going to happen when they they thought they would be able to get exactly what they got, Kia, is people coming in here and supporting them because they don't understand how things work. Oh, no, that's not why I mute people. You don't have freedom of speech in my channel. You can't say whatever you want. This is my channel. It has nothing to do with agreeing with me or not. There's a lot of people here that don't agree with me that we let talk and are just fine. If you're rude, if you spread obvious misinformation and are unwilling to listen, you don't get to be a part. Good morning, Anna. How are you? Wait for the insurance to go up. Yep. It was not the same bill that they voted on a few months ago. Since that CR was passed, the big, beautiful bill changed it, and the current administration changed it. So don't pretend it's the same CR. It is not the same CR. Grow up. Press secretary. You think I believe the press secretary? Jeez. Trying to survive. I feel you. I feel you. Continuing resolution. So it's a continuing resolution. The thing about it being called a continuing resolution is it's not really a continuing resolution. It supposedly keeps things the same as it was. But the big, beautiful bill got rid of a lot of stuff. And the president got rid of a lot of stuff. Can someone explain why insurance is going up in relation to the shutdown? So the subsidies for the ACA are going away. That passed in the big, beautiful, as he should have. No, he shouldn't have. The president should have no authority over the budget. Congress is in charge of the budget, not the president. So that having less subsidies means insurance costs will go up. Like people's premiums. And when you can't afford premiums, you end up becoming uninsured. And when you're uninsured, you end up going to the emergency room and unable to pay your bills, which means the hospital ends up having to pay for it, which means the hospital renegotiates with insurance companies to raise their costs, which they then put onto the rest of us who pay our premiums. Another distraction from having to show that too. Hey, Julie. Correct. The big bill changed it completely. It is not the same CR as much as they like. Not to mention, if they wanted to work on the budget, they should have started working on it before the beginning of September. Hey, Tiffany. I have, Rosa, I have. It is Congress's fault, specifically the GOP, because the GOP is in the majority and they chose to not work, not talk with the Democrats at all while putting the budget together. Not at all. In fact, they just passed what they wanted and said, vote for this or that is the only choice they gave. And why would a Democrat vote for a bill that is not good for their constituents? Why would they vote for a bill that is against the desires of their constituents? Yes, it is, Tammy. Hi, Dee. Yeah, Scott. Seriously. Hey, Dee Dee. Hi, Rachel. Same, Tammy. Same. True. A lot of people are one illness away. Hello. Good morning. What do we think about Illinois? Is that what you mean? Invoking Amendment 25? I don't think a state has the authority to invoke an amendment. Yeah, I hear you. I mean, Pritzker saying that we should invoke it, I've heard a lot of people say that we should, but it's not, I don't think a state can do it. I think it's the federal government that can do it. What do I think about it? I mean, there's a lot of issues. It's not just that. It's not, I mean, let's be honest. It's not just the president that's the problem. The Speaker of the House is the problem. The vice president is the problem. A year ago, the same vice president who is whining about the fact that Democrats didn't vote for this CR, even though it's not a CR technically, said that that the Republicans should do exactly what the Democrats did. No, DDK. Sorry. Hey, Aaron. Who cares? This happens every year. No, it really doesn't. It's happened a lot recently, but no, a government shutdown doesn't happen every year. And waiting until the last minute shouldn't happen every year. But we'll be furloughed after funding ends, so I'm sorry, Leanne. Because they don't care about them, Rip. That's easy. Yeah, the last time it happened was under the same president during his first term. Guys, I'm going to say this again for everyone here who's new. I do a lot of work on the tube. In fact, I'm live there and here at the same time. There's a much more fun place. And you could subscribe and watch all my long form content. It's a great place to be. Highly suggest going over there, especially because we don't know what's going to happen here. Just remember, Congress still gets paid. Yup. No, the Dems did not add to the CR. The Republicans took away from the original CR that was signed in March over the last 6 months. They wanted to, in order for them to be willing to sign it, something had to be added to it. You're right, it did happen under Obama for 16 days. Yep. In 2013. When there was a Republican-run House and a Democrat-run Senate. Yep. It did happen. Do I think they'll use a shutdown to force through more malarkey? Yes. Yes, I do. It was not a clean bill. The bill was different from what they signed in March. Saying it's a clean bill is a lie. The bill they signed in March funded more of Medicaid and Medicare and the ACA and SNAP and all the other things. And PBS. And international aid. So no, it was not a clean bill. No matter what they want to tell you. They're not adding $1 trillion. They're not, nothing that they wanted put in would cost $1 trillion in 1 year. Covey, you are not. Nothing. Literally nothing. Healthcare BS. Yeah, not $1 trillion. But thanks for playing. Yes, Philip. Nobody rides harder for the rich than a white man making $40K a year. Yeah. I think it's crazy people actually believe immigrants qualify for aid. Also true. No, it's not 1.5 trillion. It's not, Bean. It's literally not. They're not adding $1.5 trillion in a continuing resolution. You're not even adding $1 trillion in a year. That wasn't even the budget for all of Medicare, Medicaid. That wasn't even all that was cut. So how could it be added that? How could that much be added? All they wanted was the Affordable Care Act subsidies added back in. There was no demand for $1.5 trillion. Hey, Jeremiah. Hey, Kayla. Aw, Indy. Typing and being respectful is hard, I know. Maybe you can go do it somewhere else. Yeah, but no budget is over 10 years. Hey, Scott.
Hi, I'm just wondering, who invented this $1.5 trillion myth? Was that a Fox News thing? OAN?
I'm pretty sure it was a Johnson or the vice president. I'm pretty sure it was one of them.
Well, for the record, the Democratic request is simple: to maintain, not add to, not subtract, to maintain the current level of subsidies to the Affordable Care Act. That's it. That's it. That doesn't cost $1.5 trillion.
Nope.
The subsidies are already there currently in the ACA. They want to maintain them. They were cut with the big, beautiful bill. They were cut out. And the Democrats don't want that. So that's the main issue. And by the way, I think that, as you know, I've said the last couple of days, I think that's where we're going to end up. They will play around a little bit with the subsidies, but they're going to remain because I think it's in the Republicans' interest as well. The Republicans won't be giving us anything. They're going to give us something that they want anyway. They don't want to go into the election cutting out those subsidies.
And Bean, here's the part that Republicans aren't getting. You thinking they should or shouldn't be there does not matter. When the majority needs votes, they don't have a choice but to compromise in order to get those votes. They go up to them and say, what is it going to take to get your votes? And then they negotiate. And then the minority doesn't get everything they want. They get a little bit for their votes. That's how it works. The Republicans just said, nah. We're not negotiating. We're not going to do anything to get your votes. We're just going to hold over the idea of a shutdown to try and force you to accept it.
Look,
thank you for the follow.
Need 60 votes in the Senate, which you do. That presumes a negotiation. That's what the essence of politics is all about. The Republicans refused to negotiate anything. They refused, not the Democrats. Democrats asked for weeks to sit down and talk about this. The Republicans refused to negotiate. Well, when you need 60 votes, that presumes that you have to get 7 Democratic votes to have it passed in the Senate. And by not negotiating, they knew damn well they weren't going to get the 7 Democratic votes. So, here we are.
Like I said in YouTube, on the tube, Scott, that, what did the GOP think was going to happen when this bill came about? They pretty much just told the Dems, fuck you. We're not listening to you. We're not going to put anything you want in this bill. We have the majority. You're just going to vote for it, like it or not. What did they think was going to happen?
They thought what happened in March would happen again.
That's what I was going to say. Exactly. They thought that the March episode would repeat, but the political ground is a little bit different than it was in March. As you know, my wish list would have been that the political ground would really be different on November 21st, 7 weeks from now. But we are where we are, so that's a non-issue. The Democrats are in a stronger position right now than they were in March. Trump has a very low approval rating.
The economy is getting worse.
The economy is getting worse. The GDP growth is in the tank. Job growth is in the tank. You saw the polling, Mike, that I put on Discord this morning. So, Chuck Schumer didn't feel that he had the ability, and we did argue about it at the time. That's yesterday's argument. Not important to go over it again in March, but he felt that he had the ability now. So we'll see how it plays out. Yep. My own guess is that because it is most assuredly in the Republicans' self-interest, not out of any other interest, in their own self-interest, to keep most of those subsidies intact, that's going to end up being the deal.
Incorrect, Bean. There was actually a negative job growth. What was it? What did ADP say? Negative 31,000 in September, and then they adjusted August to negative 5,000.
And the last month of Biden's presidency was 383,000 jobs added. Source, Bureau of Labor Statistics.
The 3.5% is the GDP that you're talking about. And here's the thing about the GDP. The GDP looks like it goes up because we are importing less. We actually aren't buying more. We're buying less as a whole. But when you import less, imports are subtracted when you're calculating the GDP. So when you're importing less, that means you are subtracting less from the overall. So it can look better. No, the jobs lost were not all federal jobs. They were in all sectors except for healthcare, and it was pretty much healthcare.
Denise, presidents don't shut down the government. That's up to Congress.
Now, that being said, our current president in 2013 did say on TV that any shutdown is the fault of the president. Now, again, I know he wouldn't say that now, but he said that on Fox News. Oh, I mean, Leanne, if he's speaking, he's lying. So we all know it's a lie. This whole statement is really just we're pointing it out. It's pointing out the hypocrisy of their statements. It's the same as J.D. Vance flipping out about the fact that the Republicans are doing, or the Democrats are doing exactly what what he said the Republicans should do a year ago.
Again, Denise, you're apparently hard of hearing or limited mentally. The Congress shuts down the government. The president doesn't. And in 2013, which you are ineffectually referring to, the Republicans were attempting to negate an already passed into law Affordable Care Act, which obviously wasn't going to go anywhere.
You are condescending. No, I'm annoyed. And it's my channel. Not you. Well, then you need to put a name with it, because I don't know who you're talking
means
to.
Me, and I could care less what she thinks about
the
anything.
Guest. Yeah,
And
he's annoyed too. I feel exactly the same way he does.
I get annoyed when people don't understand the basics of constitutional governance, and yet, at the same time, much like you, opine on a lie. It would be better if you would just listen and stop typing. You might learn something, if that's possible. Yes, I'm being condescending again.
Good morning.
Hi.
Scott, are you causing trouble? Is that what I'm hearing? I'm just
He's
messing.
from Jersey. He's always causing trouble.
No, Kia, it just gets annoying to hear the same things over and over, regardless of what the facts are. We spoke on yesterday's live about facts and how important objective facts are. Facts are not subjective, they are objective. And to see the same comments from, in this case, the same person over and over and over again, with no context, with no reasoning, with no logic, yes, that tends to get a little bit annoying. And I am sorry for being condescending. I shouldn't have been. But everybody has a boiling point.
Yep.
No apologies needed. It's so irritating. You see the same question, the same comments come through over and over, especially as a mod, and you're sitting there watching these comments coming through. That's why the one thing is it's nice so far they haven't started going. I'm not even going to say that out loud. I don't want to bring them over, but it's irritating. It is so irritating How many comments? How many comments this morning have they come in? Dems. It's the Dems. It's Schumer. It's the Dems. It's the Dems. It's Schumer.
No, Denise, you're the problem. Bye. Go be the problem somewhere else. Have fun.
Enjoy
Look,
your train ride,
again,
Jacina.
again. And this is the thing. For anyone in here that thinks that we just get rid of people we disagree with, there is a man who just spoke. Name is Bean. We disagree on probably almost everything, but the one thing he has always been is respectful. And he has understood that what we're talking about is emotional. And sometimes we will get very emotional. And does that mean sometimes we will sound condescending? Possibly. But you know what? Even me, I don't personally care anymore. I will talk to you. I will be respectful. But when I go live and I have to say the same thing 1,000 times because people come in and just say, just the dumbest stuff. Yeah, I'm going to get annoyed. I'm going to get frustrated. And me and the people in here all the people in here right now are in here almost as much as I am. So they deal with it just as much as I do. Dean, I appreciate that. Honestly, I appreciate that. Regardless of how much I disagree with you on so many things.
Yeah, I will say that Bean is not, there's a couple of them, that we were trying to be a little more, mute for the day. You can listen and try again tomorrow. And then when you fail tomorrow, you just don't get to come back. But Bean does pretty good. I don't have to mute you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anna, you asked a question about the update in the New Jersey governor's race. Thank you for asking. As you know, you obviously know I'm from New Jersey, and I'm following it very closely. Unlike Virginia, the race is a little bit tighter in New Jersey. We're looking at the Emerson poll had it dead even. That still remains an outlier poll. Most of the polling shows it at about 6, which is the same amount that Vice President Harris won the state by. And you're probably wondering, why is New Jersey not like Virginia, which is going to be a deadlock certainty double-digit win for the Democrats? There's a couple of specific New Jersey issues that are keeping this race close. First and foremost, the Republicans do not have a complete idiot as a candidate like they do in Virginia. Citarelli is probably the strongest person they could have picked to run. Admittedly, the Republican bench is not that deep in New Jersey, but he came with very close to defeating Governor Murphy 4 years ago. Secondly, there's specific issues related to New Jersey. New Jersey has a 30-year history, 40-year history of not giving one party more than 8 years in the governorship. And the Democrats have held the governorship for the last 8 years. Secondly, you have the issue of property taxes. The current administration did not lower property taxes like they said they would. And a new issue has cropped up about electric bills, which have jumped 20%. A permanent 20% increase went in this June, and they're blaming, that, and that's understandable. They're blaming the incumbents for that, although no politician has any control over that. I understand the feeling. So there's some specific state-specific issues that have New Jersey slightly bucking the national trend. Do I think that Mikey Sherrill's going to win? Yes, I do. It's not going to be a landslide, but I think she'll have a comfortable win. If I had to guess now, a month out, and that's subject to change, I would guess we're in the 6 to 7 point range.
I mean, the fact is this is the third time that Shittarelli has tried to run. And I know it's been close, like the last time, but at some point, people also get tired of the same person.
Yeah, that's true, Mike. And the current Democratic governor does not have that high an approval rating. He's not, down at 37%, but he has a relatively poor approval rating for a state governor. And New Jersey usually gives a party 8 years and then tries a different party in the governorship. So those are the headwinds that Cheryl is having to run in. And that's why Cheryl isn't up as much as Stamberger is in Virginia, who I think is going to win anywhere between 10 and 14 points. She's going to win very easily.
Do you think grocery prices will be an issue to the voter? Yeah, absolutely. I think all the prices are going to be an issue to the voters.
Two things. One, something I noticed the other day when I went to the grocery store, as somebody who's always been very aware of pricing of groceries, especially because of budget limitations, I would have never thought it would be cheaper to get freaking boneless, skinless chicken breast than it would to be hamburger. That blows my mind.
Wait, Papa, Democrats are allowing African Americans to die in their cities? What now? Like, what now?
Is it a full moon today? I'm just asking for my own sanity.
His account is private, so I can't see what's going on.
Well, then he goes bye-bye because that was just a mute him. That's fine.
Oh, sorry.
I don't care. If you're gonna make you're gonna make a comment like that. Sorry. Now continue. Chicken.
Yeah,
beef.
the fact that boneless, skinless chicken breast was cheaper than freaking hamburger meat for the first time ever in my life, like kind of blew my mind totally. I was able to get a lot more chicken than hamburger. The other thing, I'm gonna say this right quick, and then I gotta drop. I gotta go get my son. He's sick at work. I watched Will Westmoreland's video this morning, and I don't know if you guys all follow Will Westmoreland, but if you don't, he's definitely check him out. He gets more into like the farmer and ag side of all of this, how politics affects farmers, people in agriculture, and especially people out there in the middle of the red. And he did a video, and he was explaining he talked about his accident, what happened, how his thumb got taken off, and all this other stuff, and spoke about the hospital, how long it took him to get there, and all of that. And he was explaining it like how to, trying to tie it in, just like I was saying yesterday, that people don't understand how intrinsically everything is intertwined together, and how when you start cutting things and you have some kind of accident or something like that happen, how that's going to affect people that live out there in the middle of nowhere. What's going to happen when these people have no emergency care or have no way to get the help that they need?
Sure.
It's so if you haven't checked him out, and especially if you're somebody that lives in a like a really red type rural area, or you're into farming, your family's into that kind of stuff, please check him out. He's got so much information. I've learned so much watching him. But I think that's one of the things they don't think about, is how everything kind of domino affects everything else. Because right now, healthcare jobs might not be going down, but if if all these cuts and all of these other things start happening, we're going to definitely see a difference in healthcare related jobs.
Wolf's running 80-20 ground beef here in rural southwest North Carolina, 729 at the moment. Yep. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, Cherry, this is my makeup to you, because I know I jumped on you a little bit before. You were asking about grocery prices and how important they are. They're obviously very important. They were one of the most important issues in the 2024 election. And coincidentally, there is some polling out today on Axios about that very issue. And I'll just briefly give you the headlines. I won't take up too much time with this. 47% of the public thinks that they're paying more for groceries than they did a year ago. Only 19% are saying they're paying less. Among Democrats, 50% think they're paying more, 19% think they're paying less. Among Republicans, and this is interesting, 34% say they're paying more, only 28% think they're paying less. So even Republicans are saying that they're paying too much for groceries. And here's the kicker. Independents, who you would think would be below Democrats, in fact, have a worse view of the economy than Democrats. Independents, who both parties have to win in order to win, 54% think they're paying too much. Only 13 or paying more than they did a year ago. Only 13% say they're paying less than they did a year ago. That's not good news for the Republican Party heading into the midterms.
Yep. It definitely has. Yeah. Here's the thing that we need to understand when it comes to all of this. We're all online. All of us. We're probably all online more than we should be. So there are times where we see the amount that we see makes it feel like that's what everyone sees. And here's the reality. For most people, most people don't probably see as much as we see. So when we sit here and because I'm saying this more like for all of you that may feel this way. There are days where I look through and it feels like, and it makes you understand why so many people think that everybody in the country feels X, Y, and Z, because the algorithms help make you feel that way. They don't. It's not. Most of the country does not pay attention like the people that probably are here right now pay attention. Most of the country does not listen to the extent that they do. The key for us is making sure they will hear something. The real question is, will they hear both? So it's will that person in rural America not only hear JD Vance or Thune or Mike Johnson say their side? Will they hear AOC or Bernie Sanders or somebody else online give the other side? So they can actually hear both sides and make a decision based off of it. And again, that's not a guarantee that they will change their perspective because of it. Will they hear the truth and know which actually is the truth? Well, here's the thing about truth. We've had this discussion. So we have a problem in America where truth has become subjective. Facts have become subjective. So that's why it's going to take more than just seeing stuff on. It's about having conversations with your community, with your neighbors, because that is more likely you're more likely to find truth, find facts when you have actual conversations than the way it is currently happening. And again, there are people in here that I disagree with, and we probably don't have enough conversation long enough and interact enough to probably change each other's minds ever. My goal always is that what you get here is a part of the whole. Like, I don't expect to change anyone's mind. What I hope is that the people in here are willing to listen and trust me enough to know that I know I don't know everything, I will say when I don't know something. I do all the time. I will say when I do know something. And if it's I'm unsure, I will say I don't know, but this is how I see things. I try and be very specific about what I know as a fact. And even the things I know as a fact, I am always willing to be proven wrong. Always. Always. And we all should be. I'm involved in many communities that are talking about different conversations. Of course. Well, and every conversation is going to look different. A conversation between me and if I was trying to convince Scott of something, that conversation would look different than if I was trying to convince Kia of something, because they're different people. So conversations are going to look different. We need to stay honest and humble. Yeah. And we need to go into things with the understanding that we don't know everything. And as long as you're willing to go into that conversation with that willing to be wrong, not that you are wrong, but willing to be wrong, willing to be convinced. And if you look at the people that we mute, they're not people that are sitting here and saying, like what Bean says. And again, I hate to keep bringing Bean up, but he is a perfect example of what we're trying to do here. He says stuff that he has seen. He doesn't put me down. He's not condescending of me or the guests or anyone in the chat. He says what he has seen, and he's willing to listen. He trusts me enough to at least listen to my response, even if it doesn't convince him. Text-based conversation is faulty and very limited. No syntax, inflection, body language. Of course, yeah, 100%. It's totally true. Yep. Which is why this here is a step in the process. That's why we've got a Discord. That's why I write Substacks. That's why I do all the different things that I do. And again, that's just for me. The goal is that you guys will take from what you get here and go out and have conversations and learn more. The goal here, yes, I'd love to be able to convince people to see humanity the way I do. I would love that. But my ultimate goal is to help, I don't know if teach is the right way, be an example of how we should be interacting with others. Because in the end, what will convince you, what will convince your neighbor, what will convince your other neighbors is those conversations.
Mike, do you want to handle this?
Nope, they're gone.
Oh. For the record, folks, the subsidies for the ACA, Medicaid, Medicare, they don't go to people from other countries or to people who are not legally here. Okay? They don't. That is a canard. That is a falsehood. That is not true. And as somebody in chat said, Mom for Law said, that is not only factually incorrect, it's illegal to give them subsidies. So those are the facts, folks.
And again,
but I know people will keep repeating it.
States can. States are completely different. But federally, there is a law against it.
Which this entire shutdown is about federal law. So that hasn't, this is not about subsidies going to, and I'll use your term for it, not you, Mike, the person in chat, illegals. No, not a penny is going to illegals. Nothing.
And Aaron, yes. And that is something that I have been vocally against for a long, long, long time. But if we want to fix that problem, we have to get people into office that want to fix that problem. If that is our focus and not the focus here on actually getting those people into office, we're just gonna keep spinning our wheels on this problem. I mean, let's be fair. They're losing support everywhere. They're losing support here. Is it happening fast enough? No. It is never going to be fast enough when you're talking about what's happening over in the Middle East. It is never going to be fast enough. Ever. And I would be amazed if anyone was like, I'm okay with it taking this long to fix all of the problems that we've caused. Like, I would be amazed if anyone felt that way. And if they do, they're someone I probably wouldn't listen to very much about things. But for people that actually care, it's never going to feel fast enough, ever. So I hear you. 100% hear you. It is devastating. It is devastating. And all we can do is what we can do, is what we have power. Short term, we keep speaking out against it. We keep speaking to our representatives. We keep making sure the world knows what's going on. Because yes, there is power in that. And it's showing. The cracks are showing. And then long term, we have to fight past groups like AIPAC who are going to try and run other people against those that would vote in ways that would stop all of what we want to stop. I said this before. In the last election, 4 people spoke out against that government in the Middle East. 4. And AIPAC put money to primary each one of them. And 2 of them didn't make it past the primaries. That's a 50% shot. And for the amount of work, especially people in the House of Representatives have to do every day just to be elected every 2 years, that's going to be a hard ask. Is it going to be if it's going to be, do we wish it was different? Of course we wish it was different. But that's the reality we're living in. Wolf's friend, I guess it would depend on what you consider, what your definition of evil is. Pope even made comments on the U.S. politics, especially immigration. Yeah. Yep. That's actually one of the reasons we were so surprised that he was chosen. Because he has never been one to shy away from those kind of things. Hey, Anna. Evil is the opposite of good. Yes, but everyone's definition of what is evil is different. Everyone's definition of what is good is different.
By the way, Mike, the first polling that I've seen on it has just dropped. Washington Post poll, 47% of Americans, they asked 1,010 people, 47% said Trump and the Republicans are to blame for the shutdown, and 30% said Democrats, and the rest were undecided.
GT, the GOP tried to force the Democrats to vote yes by not working with them at all and not doing their job. If your only definition of who is right and who is wrong in this case is a vote, then you don't understand how the world works. There's only one correct definition. No, there is your definition, and there is my definition, and there is Clara's and Scott's and Kia's. There is not only one definition. That is ignorance if you believe that. Sorry.
And what changed since March, GT?
It
What-
is not
what-
the
what
exact
changed
same
since March?
CR. There is no USAID in there. There is no funding for PBS. There is probably no funding for the Department of Education.
And cuts in Medicaid and the ACA. So a lot has changed since March, GT. A lot has changed.
God's
Okay, so it's-
definition is. Will's friend, you should know that we are a live that believes in the separation of church and state, and believes that in freedom of and from religion. So while I appreciate you being here, if that's the perspective that you are going to push and not be willing to understand that there are other people in this community that think differently than you, I would suggest you move on. Thank you.
Lass, I don't blame you for being terrified at all. If I was on the ACA predicts that as a result of the BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill, premiums will rise next year anywhere between 25 and 75%, depending on what state you live in. Some states, further subsidize to keep it down to 25%. Other states don't. They're going to get hit with 75%.
And GT,
Very scary.
You seem to forget that 60 votes are needed to pass a budget. And they don't have 60 votes in the Senate, which means they are required to work with the minority party, whether you like it or not. And they are not gutting the big beautiful bill gutted the budget. Your opinion on what is waste, fraud, and abuse. I like it. I don't care if you like it. It doesn't matter. The reality is, in order to pass a budget, they need 60 votes. And in order to get 60 votes, you have to work with the minority party. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not. You can be as pissed as you want about it. It doesn't matter.
GT, it is required to get 60 votes in the Senate. That presumes negotiations with the other party, no matter who's in power. That presumes negotiations with the other party. That is the very essence of politics. To sit there and say you're not going to talk to the other party and to demand, when you need 7 of their votes, 7 senators, and demand that they just follow in lockstep with you, is not the art of politics. That should be self-evident, GT.
No, the White House cannot appropriate where the money goes. That's not how a government shutdown works. Not in the way you're thinking. Yes, they can stop some things, but they cannot keep it closed. So you don't want to fly in an airplane anymore. You want airplanes to come, because you know what's going to happen over time is all those people that work as TSA agents will leave because they won't be getting paid. They won't be collecting. There's a lot of things that won't be happening if it stays closed. No other business can happen while the government is shut down. The only thing that can happen is working on passing a bill.
And you do realize, GT, that our soldiers are not going to be paid? I mean, you know that, right?
What they're saying is they're going to do layoffs isn't an excuse or from the shutdown. They were doing them anyways. This is the part that people, so they were doing layoffs and then they started rehiring them because they realized that they were firing people that they needed. So what's going to change if they fire people now? No, soldiers can use credit unions to supplement. Credit unions' money is not infinite. There are lots of soldiers. They will get back pay. Not if the government stays shut down, GT, which you just said to do. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, GT, how do the national parks stay open? How do bridges get repaired? How do highways get repaired? How do airplanes travel in the United States if we listen to you and keep the government shut down forever? How does that occur?
Berries.
Because according to Article 1 of the Constitution, only Congress can appropriate money. The president can't appropriate money. Congress appropriates money. That is a sole function of the legislative branch, Article 1 of the Constitution. You may want to take a peek at it.
GT, that statement is completely ignorant. You just want it to happen because you like the bill. The reality is, if they want to do it and the other people, the other senators do not, it is the responsibility of the majority of the House to make whatever deals they need to make it possible. That is how the majority has been when the Democrats have been in power. That's how the majority has been when the Republicans have been in power. That is the reality. I don't care if you don't like it. If you don't like it, go move to another fucking country. No, they should have started working on it in March.
Please don't come to Canada. We don't need that. Please.
They decided to wait until the beginning of September to pass this bill.
They did it on purpose. We know they did it on purpose. They didn't want to pass the bill. Like, let's be realistic.
How many times? It is not a CR. Because the last CR looks different than this CR. So it is not.
GT, this CR, for instance, rolls back the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. That's just one of many differences.
If it is different than the last one, it is not a clean CR. This is typical left game. What the? Bye. I'm not even answering that. Bye. Again.
Typical left game. Producing facts. That's what we do here. We discuss facts. That's
Again, you can be upset about it. The ACA is not good until next year. Those take place at the end of this year.
The cuts to the ACA will come out on November 1st, which is approximately 4 weeks from now.
Mimi's mom, any account that gets its money separately from the budget will still get paid. Why does everyone keep saying? Because that is what the the GOP leadership has been saying, Bean. That is what Thune has been saying. That's what Mike Johnson has been saying. And it has frustrated the living crap out of me. Again, they want to go 7 more weeks. I understand that. Because they decided to wait until the last moment to pass anything. They had since March to start working on this. They chose not to. They chose to literally fling it through the House, and then the House went on vacation for the rest of the month. And then the Senate didn't do anything. And with the House completely gone, even if Thune decided to work with the Democrats to get something, it would have to go back to the House. No, Tag. The Democrats didn't vote for a budget bill because no one involved them, and their votes were needed to pass it. What is a CR? Continuing resolution. Again, if there was discussion, if there was offers, and the Republicans said, we offered this and they chose not to do it, then you would have had an argument. I may not have agreed with it depending on what the offer was, but at least you could have had an argument. They didn't. They said, vote for this or we're getting a shutdown. And that was your only option. Explain what continuing resolution is. The original purpose of a continuing resolution is it is supposed to keep the bill exactly, or the budget exactly the way it was before, so they can work on an actual budget. So no spending changes. The problem is it's not a continuing resolution in the same, really, because they've changed it. It's not a clean continuing resolution.
Sure, the ground has shifted since March. So comparing it to why, well, they did it in March, we were operating under different circumstances in March.
Yep.
We didn't have the big, beautiful bill in March. That's why.
They said opposite today. Of course they said opposite today in a press conference. Of course, the Republicans, their only play is to convince everyone who supports them that it's not their fault. And that is what they will push. That's been their MO forever, especially in this administration.
Well, you know, Mike, we've all lived through a number of shutdowns by now. I know I have, and you have too.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I find interesting about this shutdown is that the point of contention is they're actually really not that far apart. They could sit there and work this out in about 2 days. The Democrats aren't asking for much, and what they're asking for is something that most Republicans want to give them anyway. So I think we'll go through a week or two of the usual Fox News, MSNBC posturing, and then social media posturing. And then, as we already know that there's senators talking about it now, they've been talking around the clock. They're very close to what they want. And I think that they'll work this out. Other shutdowns have been about much bigger issues than this.
Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, the shutdown under Obama was still about the Affordable Care Act. Different, but still about it.
Yeah, that was about the whole thing. They wanted Obama, who just won his great legislative victory, to cancel the whole thing on because of a shutdown. Well, that wasn't going to happen.
The Republicans still want to push until November. Yeah. And here's the thing, and this is the problem that nobody seems to get. And this is why, in the end, I supported a shutdown. They say, oh, we'll just do a CR and continue, and 7 weeks will, we can have 7 weeks of negotiation. No, do your job earlier and pass it the way it needs to get passed. Who's to say in 7 weeks we aren't going to be dealing with the exact same problem that we're dealing with now? Do you trust the Republicans to actually work to do anything that they say they're going to do? I don't. I could 100% see them waiting until like 2 weeks before and do the exact same thing. Just put another CR in place and say, well, you better vote for it because we're just going to have a shutdown right before Christmas. It is no capitalizations for anybody but mods. Yes, Jim. If we're gonna ask for that kind of specificity, yeah. We understand when you say DVD without it being capitalized. What happens to elections while elections are run by the states. So they'll still happen. Now, will the one question that I don't know is, will they, I would assume that he can still swear someone into office. Has what's her name from Arizona been sworn in yet? I didn't see your question. And no, I'm not going to answer because I've answered it like 1,000 times already, Michaela. But the Republicans' fault because the Republicans are in the majority. And the majority's job is to work with the minority when they don't have enough votes. Yes, Bubba, I do. But we are a community that believes in separation of church and state, and that believes in freedom of or from religion. And we strongly protect that here. But yes, we're asking if I do. I do. Nope, Dems didn't shut it down. Dems aren't in the majority. The Dems, the majority's job is to work with the minority to get the votes. It is not the Democrats' responsibility to vote just because. Just like it's not the Republicans' responsibility to vote just because. It is not one person in Congress's job to vote yes or no just because.
Folks, the Senate rules themselves require 60 votes. That means, by definition, it has to be bipartisan. That's what it means. And they didn't have 60 votes to pass it. It isn't the Democrats, Republicans. The Senate shot it down because they couldn't get to 60 votes to pass it. It is incumbent, when you don't have a filibuster-proof majority, it is incumbent that you must negotiate with the other party. You have to do that. That's the only way you can get something passed. That's called politics.
Dave, they aren't doing the filibuster. The Senate needs 60 votes to pass a budget bill or a CR. If they don't have the votes, it won't pass. It is not anyone's fault. It is the only reason it is the GOP's fault in this case is because they refused to do their job and work with the minority party to get the votes they needed. No, this did not keep the status quo because the last CR looked different than this CR. Because no, Chuck Schumer is not holding it up because he's afraid of AOC. What the hell are you talking about? That is a ridiculous statement. No, user blah, 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 blah. You obviously have no idea what you're talking about.
And now you're on the train to St. Elsewhere.
Want to bet they're going to primary him? Okay. You think this is going to keep anyone from wanting to primary him? No. There's a lot of people that are pushing to primary him, even after this. That means nothing.
Cherry Moon, to answer your question, the big beautiful bill was passed on reconciliation.
Barefoot.
That's why it only requires a majority vote.
Barefoot.
And that only has to do with revenue bills.
It is not the same bill than it was in March. It is not the same bill. And opening the border, what are you talking about? Yes, I want to pay $200 billion so people don't lose their freaking health insurance. It has nothing to do with the border. It has nothing to do with immigrants because immigrants are not allowed by law to use the Affordable Care Act or Medicaid and Medicare. It's literally a law. They did not want to cut 50. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Bye.
Oh my God.
Bye. Bye. Every time you say the left, anytime anyone says the left specifically want to do something and it's just flat out wrong, I'm not dealing with them. I'm sorry.
Nobody wanted to cut $50 billion from rural health care. The big beautiful bill that the Republicans passed will cut hundreds of billions of dollars from rural health care.
And one senator,
about 120 billion, according to the Rural Health Care Association.
And one Republican senator, in order to get her vote so the big beautiful bill could pass, got $50 billion put back in, not even at once, over time, over the 10 years, that can go to rural health, which isn't enough. I might add, is not enough.
Nope. According to the Rural Health Care Association, the $50 billion that the Republicans put in the bill, that the Democrats voted for that. Yeah, they had no problem with that. But the $50 billion only covers 40% of the shortfall to rural hospitals. So they will close as a result of the big, beautiful bill. Be careful what you vote for, folks, because it's coming for you.
Michaela is unhappy that we muted her. Well, now you don't get to get involved at all. So, goodbye.
Mountain West, where are you coming up with $600 billion in waste, fraud, and abuse? Where are you coming up with that number? Was that from a magic 8-ball or a Ouija board? I'm curious.
And
Uncle
what?
Bill.
And what in your mind makes it waste, fraud, and abuse? Show me the data that shows that that $600 billion that you're talking about was actual waste, fraud, and abuse and wasn't being used by Americans.
Because they don't think that people should just get health care.
It is not from a nonpartisan
He
CPO.
misspelled it, but he meant the Congressional Budget Office. That is completely 100% false. They never said that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to keep interrupting you, Tiffany.
Oh, no worries. I as a Canadian, like it baffles my mind that people get so upset that other people should get healthcare. Like healthcare should be a universal right for everybody on this planet, and I have no idea why people are arguing about that. I don't think my mind will ever understand.
Catherine, if I took a shot every time someone said that, I would be drunk in 5 minutes.
5, I'd say 3.
And again, this look, the Republicans have the House, the Senate. Sorry, getting not weird focus thing. The Republicans have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They have the power to get more of what they want than they would if it was a split. I admit that. I accept that. That is a fact. But to say that it is the other person's fault, the other party's fault when they're in the minority, even though because of the way this government is set up, it is required that they work with them, is short-sighted. It's just flat out false.
Faye in chat said, I got off government dependency and life is 100% better. Well, I'd like to say to you, Faye, congratulations, but you were on government dependency at one point because you obviously needed help. Are you now saying that now that you got your help, you don't want anybody else to get help?
And are you also...
Is that what you're saying, Faye?
Are you also saying that if you did not get help from the government in the first place, you would have been fine?
When you were down and out, it was good to help you, but now you don't want to see other people get the same thing that you got? Is that what you're actually saying, Faye?
What's Return to Dust saying? What are you talking about? A Canadian focused chat? What? No, this is very clearly not a Canadian focused chat. We don't have a GOP in Canada, just so you know. We don't have a lot of this stuff. Although we have very much our own government issues. ours are different. Yeah,
Hey, Jack.
I genuinely don't understand how people get mad because there are safety nets available for people because they didn't need to use them. Why are you mad because you didn't need to use these safety nets that are there in case you do? The reason we all have the safety nets in place, be it employment insurance or healthcare or like anything really, is so that if you need it, it's there and available so you're not destitute. Like, I genuinely don't understand people's lack of empathy and compassion for others.
I also want to point out, and Kathleen said it, if you accepted the stimulus check during COVID, you got government help. If you've ever taken the child tax credit, you've taken government help. There are probably 1,000 different ways we have all been helped by the government, whether we realize it or not.
Caps on utilities, like caps on insurance amounts. Like there's so many things that we take for granted. Have you ever had to use the fire department or the police service, or have you ever used a road in your life? Because guess what? Your taxes and the government make sure that the roads are able, well, maybe not in my city, because if you ever come here, the potholes are crazy. But generally, anywhere else in the world, they're safe to drive on and they aren't full of holes. But like, there's so many things, and I genuinely can't understand how people don't have compassion for their fellow human being and instead have contempt that a fellow human being needs help. Someone needs help, and we should have the social services available for them, because you know what? That could be any of us in any moment.
Before we keep moving on, anyone here who's new, not only throwing a follow here would be helpful, but also know that I am live here and on the tube at the exact same time, because I'm trying to grow over there just in case something happens here. So if you like what we're doing here, please consider going over there. You can hang out with them on the live. You can actually say whatever you want. And you don't have to worry about, well, not whatever, but you don't have to speak in gibberish tongue to be able to not get pulled off by this app. I also do long form content. We got a new episode that's literally releasing right at the end of this live. It's releasing at 12 Eastern time. So if you're interested in listening to podcasts, that you want to go over there and follow, so you can watch it right when it comes out. But yeah, if you guys drive on a road, like a highway, a federal highway, that's government assistance. If you've ever driven on one, welcome to the government assisting you to be able to do your job if you've needed it for your job. You speak gibberish anyway. Well, Clara, that's okay.
Don't forget, the government helps make sure there's light standards and stop signs and all of those things. The things for the railroad tracks. Like, there's so many things that when you think about all of the things our government does with their tax funding, be it on a city level, a state or provincial level, or a federal level, like you'd be boggled the amount of things that they do with our taxes every day and what you benefit from.
Well,
and I just
yeah. And Kira, yes, I mean, I agree with you on the public schools. Unfortunately, making the argument about public schools to the people that are making those other arguments are not, fortunately, won't work. But I agree. We should be giving more money to public schools and public school teachers.
Yep. Actually, here in Alberta, our teachers are set to go on strike on October 6th. And it's funny, our province can come up with money to give to each of the, sorry, my dog's about to bark and you guys don't need to see. There, I got her to stop. Sorry. I'm like, can you hear her? There's somebody walking with it within a 300 meter. But they're about to shut down the schools here. The government's allowing them teachers to go on strike. And instead of coming up with the money to make sure that we reduce class sizes and help pay for supports in classroom, they've decided to give the parents all $30 a day to teach their own kids.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, sure, LA's got issues. Every city, literally every city in this entire country has issues. Every single one of them. Absolutely every single one of them. And the city roads are the city's problem. The federal roads are the federal government's problem. So this is why it always boggles my mind when people sit there and say that it's X, Y, and Z. Like this, it's very people. And I'm not saying you did it, Andrew. I'm just saying this is just a general frustration in people's desire to have things be black and white. Like with this government shutdown, what do? They just, the only thing they stick with is, oh, the Democrats are the ones that voted no. So obviously that means it must be the Democrats' fault. Why? Because they don't want to look at all the other pieces of it. They don't want to see the other things that make. Do the Democrats, regardless of whether I consider them at fault, do they have a hand in this government shutdown? Of course they do. 100% of course they do. But to say that it is their fault is ignorant and just straight out being blind to the realities of how our Congress works. So we just need to stop being.
Yeah, Mike, and it bears repeating, folks, that the rules of the Senate require 60 votes to pass it. They require that. Therefore, it's incumbent on the two parties to work together, not to have one party say, we are not going to negotiate. You will either pass it or you won't. It requires negotiation. Now, we may not like that. We may disagree with that, but that's the rules of the Senate.
Yep.
60 votes are needed. The Republicans don't have 60 votes.
And again, if the Republicans came out and said, we know we need these votes, this is what we offered them, and they decided to decline it, you could at least have an argument at that point. Depending on what the offer is, I still may not agree, but at least it looked like they tried. Where they didn't try. The only time they had an actual conversation with Democrats about voting was one day before the shutdown, when the only option was to vote or have it shut down, because the House wasn't in session and Mike Johnson wasn't bringing them back. There was no other choice at that point. Again, if there was negotiation, if they said, we've been talking with these guys for a month and we've just gone back and forth, we've offered them these things and they're just flat out saying no, they're saying shut it down, then sure, we could have a real good faith discussion on whose fault. I'd still there was a potential that you could say they're both at fault at that point. But in this case, there was no discussion. There was no negotiation. There was no compromise. It was our way or the highway. That is the GOP's fault. That is the majority's fault, whose responsibility it is to work with the minority party to pass things when necessary. The Democrats have had to work when the Democrats have been in the majority. I remember having very annoyed discussions with people in this panel with some of the compromises that we made with the Republicans when we had the majority in order to get things passed. I remember it. They should have started negotiating the second the CR was passed. Hey, Abby, they should have started negotiation the second the original CR was passed. And if you want to argue, well, they were working on the big, beautiful bill. Well, then they should have started negotiation. Ooh, that's cool. They should have started negotiating the day after they passed the big, beautiful bill.
That's exactly correct. Right? I can understand not negotiating while they were working on the BBB. But once the BBB was passed, they should have sat down with the Democrats and said, what's it going to take to get the extension done?
Or what's it going to take to get a bill passed?
Yeah.
Like an actual budget. Forget an extension.
Yeah. Yeah. Either one. But they didn't do either.
No.
They said, this is it. Accept it. Well, you don't have 60 votes. We know, but you have to accept it. That's not the way politics works. And that isn't the way it's worked when the Democrats were in the same position.
Nope.
They had to give a little something to the Republicans to get it passed.
Yep.
That's the art of compromise, and that is what Congress is all about. Look, the sticking point appears to be the ACA. Now, there may be more sticking points come up as the negotiations continue, and they've already started.
Oh, sure.
But even the president himself, when he was in front of the cameras, said, yeah, we're going to have to do something about the subsidies. So there's your opening, Mr. Thune. There's your opening right there. Your own president said we have to do something about the subsidies. So do it.
I mean, Michelle, we have already seen in full. It is not the exact, by the way. You know it. So it can't be the exact because the big, beautiful bill has already removed things from that budget. And this president has removed things from that budget. So it is not the same. If they're not, no, it 100% is not. The big, beautiful bill changed it. So you're saying that if we sign that CR, PBS would be funded again? Are you saying that if the Democrats signed it, that PBS and USAID would be funded? Then it's not the same. It's not the same if they are no longer being funded. Because when they signed the CR, hopefully forever, bite me, Paul. Go away.
Mike, now you're being condescending like me.
Yeah, well.
Paul, or whoever it was that Mike was referring to, it's not the same as it was in March because the laws of the nation have changed with the passing of the big, beautiful bill. So it's not the same CR that it would have been in March. It's just not.
Again, they can say words, they can say the words may be the same, but it's not the same. And that's the point. If things that Congress passed in that budget, in that CR to be funded are not going to be funded, then it's not the same. It's just a reality. You can be okay with it. I don't care. But let's be straight about what is fact and what isn't.
Simply because
Yes.
Simply because
Yes,
Fox,
banana.
Simply because Fox News says it's the exact same CR in that we had in March doesn't make it so. Because the laws of this nation changed with the passing of the big, beautiful bill. So it's different. There is no funding for PBS. The Affordable Care subsidies have been cut. And that is what the sticking point is to pass this. That is what the Democrats, they want it restored to exactly what it was in March. It's the Democrats who want it restored to what it was in March.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we tried, Kathleen. And I'm sorry that sometimes I blow up, but the hardest part about doing this live is the fact that in a 2-hour period, you see the same argument, 200 times. And people come in thinking that I just went live and, I haven't explained this. And so it's my job to explain it to them again. So sometimes by the end, I just get done with it.
Actually, Kathleen, the even worse than that are not having to explain it to new people, but the exact same person. You explain it to them, and then they just keep repeating themselves over and over and over like Pavlov's dog. They just keep repeating themselves. And it is obvious that they are not listening to a single word that you or anybody else are saying. It's very frustrating.
But I appreciate that you appreciate it. 50 first dates. Yeah. Yeah. It's more like 200 first dates, but yeah.
Exactly. I thought I just 51st date, and I was like, what Who's calling me?
By the way, I just want to call out. I keep forgetting to read the name. There's someone in this chat that has liked this live over 11,000 times.
Is it Patty?
I'm sure it'll show up again, but no, I don't think it was Patty. Patty has liked it a lot too, but I just saw 11,000, so that just shocked me. Yes, it's Bernice. I recognize the picture. Thank you for liking it 11,000 times. That is absolutely insane. Mechanical finger. I don't know. I'm not worrying about that. How is that possible? They just never stop? They've been here since the beginning. 2 hours of tapping? Possible. Especially if you're like double tapping. I don't know. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. And again, please consider going over to the tube if you haven't. I know I keep saying it, but we really don't know what this app is going to be like in a few months. And there's a lot more that we can do in the grand scheme of things over there. And there's a lot more other content over there. And a lot of the same content. Like I pretty much post what I post here over there as well. So yes, it is. Exact same name with the same picture. Yep. What's the tube? The tube of you.
Well, while we're having this break, you want me to do the commercial?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, folks, as you have, and apparently the chat agrees,
Moxie.
this has been a very fascinating, far-reaching, and at times contentious discussion, and that's okay too. And that's all thanks to your wonderful host, Mike, who puts in a lot of hard work to make this all happen. And if you look in your upper left-hand corner, what are you going to see? You're going to see Mike's name, but that's not what I want you to focus on, because to the right of Mike's name is a little orange heart. You know what I'm going to say now. Please tap on the orange heart. And Johnny, what's going to happen? I'll tell you what happens. A big box drops down. And on the right-hand side of that box, you will see 6 small rectangular boxes. Some will be blank. Don't worry about those. But some will be shaded in black. Please tap on those black shaded boxes. That way your content creator gets points. And that helps out his algorithm, that helps his live out, and that helps him out. But guess what? There's a door number 2. You get the same amount of points. That's right. It's the world's ultimate win-win. There can't be any shutdown that'd stop you from getting those points. You get the points, Mike gets the points, everybody comes out a winner. And while you're at it, folks, think about, you hear us talk about it a lot, the Discord. That's where members of the community get to discuss any subject to their heart's desire, whether it be your favorite food, your pets, what movie you saw on Netflix, what good book you just read, or politics. Everything is open game there. You interact with the community. It's nobody's censoring you. Say whatever you want, do what you want, and talk about what you want. And Mike also has a Substack, and I encourage all of you to read it. It's where Mike talks about whatever particular subject of the day he wants to talk about. You can read it, or you can listen to it, whichever you prefer. And you can certainly engage with it and leave a comment. He would love it if you do. Last but not least, we've mentioned it a few times today, and it is worth mentioning one more time. If you haven't gone over to the tube, please do. It's the same name Mike has here. So please subscribe to it. There you will find long-form content. Mike always has an interesting guest on. And while the talk is usually politics, it's not always about politics. And his guests are informative, they're intelligent, they're engaging, and so is Mike. So it makes for a fun hour. If you like long-form content, try it. And if you haven't tried it yet, I have only one request. Just try it once. Just listen to it once. I think you'll be back for more. And there's a second reason for it, folks, that Mike just alluded to, but it's worth saying again. Look, we don't know what the future of TikTok is. Nobody knows what the future of TikTok is. Nobody knows what will happen in the future. So it's a good idea just to get a little bit more familiar with the tube of you and Mike's content creation over there. And thanks for listening.
Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome.
I'm doing 2 podcast episode recordings today, one after another. It's a lot of talking today.
I have a question. I think I might have gotten filtered out when I was sitting in the parking lot at Amazon waiting. The reception is bad, but are the 2 Dems that got beat out by the APAC thing, are they running again?
I don't think so. I haven't heard about what's his name? So one's from New York and the other was in Missouri, I think. I don't believe so. Bowen and Bush, yes. I have not heard about them running again, no.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Oh, and somebody did ask in chat, and I'm sorry we didn't respond. Does the speaker have to swear in the new representative from Arizona? The answer is yes. The people have spoken in Arizona, and he will have to swear that person in. So the answer to that question is yes.
He's just doing a delaying tactic on that because he's calling for, like, he has to wait for the official ballot or something ridiculous like that.
And interesting that a Republican representative, also from the great state of Arizona, has announced his candidacy for governorship of Arizona and will be opening up that seat. That's a big potential pickup for the Democrats in the midterms because it's a purple district. He's been a pretty good congressman. He's popular in his district, so he would have been tough for the Democrats to beat. But now that it's an open seat and it's a pretty 50-50 district, that is a marvelous opportunity for the Democratic Party in Arizona.
And by the way, for anyone who's looking for just a whole list of the links, if you go into my main page, you'll see the tube one as the main one, but if you click on it, it'll show you to the link tree. Tennessee Dem, I can't remember his name, in special election on December 7th, have any chance? Here's the thing about all of them. Whether they have a chance to win, especially at that point, I mean, Tennessee, I don't know what district it is, so it's hard to say. But your comment's getting blocked. See, Eleanor, that's why you got to be over on the tube. Because you don't have to deal with that. The key in special elections at this point is that the Democrats are doing better than they did in the general election. That's going to be huge. And the fact is up until this point, if you take all of the special elections, the Democrats have outperformed by an average of 16 points. And that's huge.
Yeah, Michelle, I would have to know what district you're talking about, and I could look it up on Cook's report, and I'd find out the partisan lean of that district. But Mike's quite right. Through the 47 special elections we've had up to now, the Democrats are averaging plus 16 over what they did in 2024. And to put that in historical perspective, that's never happened. That's never happened. There's never been that big a gap in this many special elections towards either party.
I'm not embarrassed to call myself an American. I am embarrassed that we as a country have fallen as far as we have. It was one of those, I made this statement after the election. I always thought we were better as a country. And again, this is, you have a right to vote for whoever you want. I'm just saying, I always thought that someone who has cheated on all of their wives, had 34 felonies, was found liable of SA, and lied 33,000 times during their first time in office, totally blew in the response to a global pandemic, which is why they lost the last election, tried to overthrow the government. I didn't think there was a chance in hell that that people would vote him back in. I was wrong. I was wrong. It's the 7th district. So I had to come to the reality that we as a society, as a country, are not better than what we are. And again, does that mean we can't become better? Of course we can. But we also have to accept the fact that at this moment, we are not. And that's fine, Jim. You know, regardless of, there are a lot of people talking, in ways that like would have made it so he went from barely winning to barely losing. A barely lost, in my mind, is equally as bad. Like if Kamala Harris won by 1.5%, I would still be depressed. The fact that many millions of people voted for him would have hurt my soul just as much. So,
Well, if she was president, it would still hurt, but not quite as much. If she had won the election. You've got to be kidding. I agree with you. I wish the Electoral College could go away, but unfortunately, that would take a change in the Constitution itself, and that is not on the table right now, unfortunately. I wish it was, but that's not in the cards right now.
Which it still comes down to, if that's a future we want, it will take us voting in the primaries as much as us voting. It will require more of us voting in the general election, but also as much of us voting in the primaries.
I think, sorry, I think something else, if anything, has been shown by the total lack of ignorance and understanding of how the government actually works. I think people need to start paying a lot more attention to school board elections as well. These are the people who are putting together and decide who puts together our kids' curriculums at school. And if anything, we definitely need to be making sure we're paying a lot more attention to those elections as well.
Bardo, that there is no way of anyone knowing that. And the only people that are truly affected by it to the extent are people that were probably voting already.
And you've got to be kidding. Since I went through it, I am a lawyer. You have to go to 4 years of college, 3 years of law school, and then you have to pass the bar exam. Those are the requirements.
Just watched my Bad Bunny Super Bowl video. Loved it. Thank you. Thanks, Elixir. Yeah, I got some that video did a lot better than I thought it was going to do. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was a good video. 1.5 million views later, I'm surprised. But I appreciate that y'all liked it. I did
Yeah,
a video
yeah,
similar to that just now. What?
you did a. I still haven't seen it. Like I tell you, I'm like with me when I mod for so long. Like when I don't, if you don't have egg counting videos or critters, I don't often see it. But everybody keeps talking about it, so I will go and watch that. Although I did finish watching a couple episodes of the podcast.
Well, that's good.
I watched.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that as much, if not more, because the podcast episodes are the ones that are really going to help me grow over on the tube. So
Yeah, I watched Emily's, and right now I missed one with, I think her last name is like Cox or something like that, talking about the Democrats need to wake up. That one's from a couple months ago. I'm listening to that one now.
do you have a degree in political science? What colleges? You seem uneducated. Uh-huh.
Oh, as opposed to you certainly seem educated.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Mr. 21 following, 1 follower. All right. Maybe you should go hang out with them.
You've got to be kidding. Ask me a question. I'll tell you what, I don't agree with that, because I think that we should have plumbers in Congress. I think we should have carpenters in Congress. I think we should have farmers in Congress. I don't think you should have to be a lawyer with 3 years of post-grad work and passing the bar to be in Congress. I think that our elected representatives, we'd do better off if more of our elected representatives actually were more representative of the population at large. So I don't agree with that.
James.
Does it matter what school
He
I
was
went to?
he that they were making fun.
Okay, I was like, I'm like, does it matter? I went to a university, took business.
It
Not that it
matters
like,
what school? Okay, Bardo. Sure.
oh,
Like I said, go hang out with your 21 followers.
well, I could tell Bardot, but I doubt he'd even heard of it because, like, I doubt he'd hear of Canadian universities.
I doubt he
So,
cares.
yeah.
What schools did you go to, Bardo? I know a lot about that. What schools did you go to?
He's silent.
And what's your profession, Bardo? Yeah, I already got it. NYU and Georgia Tech. You're not telling me what for.
Behavioral analysis.
I certainly agree with the civics test. You got to be kidding. I definitely agree with that. I think if it were up to me, you'd have to pass the civics test to vote, but the Constitution wouldn't allow that to happen.
For someone who has a PhD in behavioral analysis, you don't do a really good job at reading the room you walk in.
And I'd be willing to bet negative on the schools he said he went to, too.
Yeah, obviously,
Just based upon his lack of elocution.
Obviously, you don't, Bardo, because you are still here. Pretending that we think that Where you went to school matters. JD Vance went to Yale. I could give a rat's ass. He's a piece of shit. And doesn't know how to speak. So, no, I don't care. You're trying to assess TikTok?
I think this
Goodbye.
this guy's crazy.
Goodbye.
He's
You can't speak. Uh-huh. I can speak all I want. You can't speak.
Nuh-uh.
Let's see.
nuh-uh.
There you go. You can't speak. Don't speak. I know just what you're thinking. Just don't please stop
Ted Cruz
explaining.
is Ivy League educated and clerked on the Supreme Court, and now pretends to be a good old country boy, which is what I get a kick out of. And he's married to a New York investment banker. And yet he says, I'm going to hunting and I'm going to fishing, and he wears the mutton chops. He's such a fucking fraud, that guy.
You do a better Gwen Stefani than she does. I don't know about that, but. And again, just because you have a degree does not mean you know what you're talking about in every instance. There is more to it. Yes, a degree helps give. I think a degree, if someone says, I have a degree in political science, am I going to listen to them more? Sure. Of course I am. Does that mean they are right in everything they say? No. That is why scientists who all go to school have to write research papers and do research and have it all peer reviewed by other people who have done school and research papers, and sometimes those people get it wrong.
Precisely. I've met more educated people who don't know their ass from their elbow than I have met plumbers who don't know their ass from their elbow.
I mean, look at the person who is trying to indict James Comey. She's got a friggin' law degree.
Well, look at our attorney general. She's got a law degree too, and she's just as dumb.
And Alina Babbitt and all the others.
And I've got a good recommendation for both of them. When they leave the Trump administration, hire a good criminal lawyer, because you're going to need them.
Look at our president. Yeah.
You know, I didn't realize how bad the lawyers were, Scott, honestly, until when I found Di and I started watching her and listening to her read, especially like the court documents and stuff. And some of that stuff, like especially when the orange one was, you know, going through court and all that stuff, and she's reading the stuff they were putting out, like his lawyers were putting out, and I was like, damn, I know jack shit about the law, writing a case or whatever you call it, and I could have done better than they do.
I agree, especially take a look at after the 2020 election, that circus act he had as a bunch of lawyers. Sidney Powell, who, by the way, is no longer a lawyer, she was disbarred. John Eastman, who, by the way, is no longer a lawyer, he's disbarred. And Rudy Giuliani, who, by the way, is no longer a lawyer, he was disbarred. They were putting out absolute nonsense. Unfortunately for the president, I don't know how he picks his lawyers. He doesn't make very good choices.
I mean, Hegseth went to Princeton.
Did he really?
Let me verify, but I thought that's what I read.
Hegseth? How the fuck did that moron get into an Ivy League school?
Somebody paid for it, probably.
He went to Princeton. Yep.
Holy shit, I didn't know that.
Scott, that's what happens when you know people in that good old boy club and all that stuff. You get that's why the whole where you went to school doesn't really matter that much.
And
Hey, that leads me to a question. You're right, Kia. Did he have like rich parents or something like that?
I don't know, but guess what his degree was in? So if you watch the video that I posted this morning, like right before the live, it was a guy talking about it was a guy doing the whole stupid oh, liberals are, when I think of liberals, I think of people with blue hair that have liberal arts degrees and all that other stuff. Guess
Yeah,
what
that was
his
funny.
guess what his degree was?
Liberal arts. Liberal arts.
Public policy. Literally had a degree in public policy from Princeton.
What was his GPA?
I don't know.
There's grade inflation. We all had it. But believe me, there's tons of grade inflation in college. So everybody's got a good GPA. But
Oh,
Pete,
not in Canada. Not in Canada. We don't grade on
well,
curves here.
you go
get
to
your
an
grade.
you go to an Ivy League school. Everybody's an A and B student. But at any rate, Pete Hegseth, that guy went to Princeton.
I bet you
And
somebody bought something. Somebody did something. And that's unfortunately that's been the legacy of a lot of Ivy League schools now. Is that
I know.
He got an offer to play basketball.
Oh, there we go. I hate to say it, if I was good at sports, I would have picked a Ivy League school too if they'd offered me a scholarship. I can't argue with that decision. It's smart. Oh my God, he made a smart decision in his life. What? Sorry, my mind just got
But yeah,
blown. But
so
but he made a smart
he
decision.
got a liberal arts degree.
Yep.
Which is why I think, I mean, again, for everyone that talks, like, it's always drove me crazy, all the people that on the right that complain about these colleges that they went to and they got degrees in. The amount of people in the administration right now that got liberal arts degrees from these colleges that they're complaining about
It
boggles my mind.
It doesn't boggle your mind. You know the reason, right? Take a look at their voters.
I understand that, but still.
Take a look at who their voters are. They're not going to appeal to people who graduated from Princeton. So they will try and downplay, like Ted Cruz does all the time, his double Ivy League pedigree. He downplays it. He doesn't mention it.
Maserati, better to vote for a Democrat who's got humanity than anybody on the right. Goodbye. I would love to keep talking, but I've got to go get ready for a recording. Thank you everyone who came up here. Thank you everyone who hung out this entire time, whether here or on the tube. I appreciate you more than you possibly could know. Again, if you're over on TikTok, if you could please, literally probably just released this moment, new episode 17, literally just released. Make sure you check it out. Talked with a military wife. So interesting conversation having to do with perspectives going on in the military. So make sure you check that out. And yeah, collect your points here. Again, follow there. Yes, Tabitha, it's on YouTube. Yep.
I'm gonna finish getting my chicken ready for the crock pot. Have fun with your recording.
I hope so. We're gonna be interviewing a friend of mine from singing. We're gonna talk about the musician stuff and some religious stuff. So it'll be good. All right, guys. Thank you, both sides. You guys are amazing, just the way you are, and I love you all very much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Remember to sing, laugh, dance, smile, do something that makes you happy. Bye, guys.